What's up, everyone? Today I'll be reviewing Superman Ultimo Escape, which is the tallest and fastest roller coaster in Latin America. This is located at Six Flags Mexico and was built by Morgan Manufacturing back in 2004. It has a really unique layout for a Morgan coaster featuring lots of terrain, and it has a total track length of 5,577 feet. When you first arrive at Six Flags Mexico, this is by far the tallest roller coaster in their skyline. And when you're outside the park, it looks even taller because the park is up on a hill. So the ride just looks massive up on top of the hill from the streets of Mexico City. And from some views, it almost looked like a giga coaster to me, just from how high it looked from where we were standing at different points. So really imposing looking ride. And because of its height and its location, you're also going to get absolutely stunning views on the lift hill. So when you ride this coaster, I would highly recommend turning around on the lift hill. The ride's name translates to Superman the Last Escape. This ride has a really nice facade and is located near the front of Six Flags Mexico. As you work through the queue line, you'll notice a lot of office buildings for Clark Kent and Lois Lane, and themed to like the Daily Planet. And it reminds me a lot of the queue line in Superman at Parque Warner, and also of the Spider-Man ride at Universal. The queue line is similar to that. But I think out of those three, the one in Mexico might be the most detailed and well themed, because you have these really cool offices with all sorts of different theming around it. It's really well detailed. Six Flags Mexico had really good queue lines, so that's one thing I definitely will say. So this ride had really fast operations too. When I was there, they were running all three trains really quick. I don't think I had to wait more than like 20 minutes for this ride, and the park was not necessarily like quiet either. There were a lot of people there. They were just very fast with the dispatches. So they don't allow you to bring anything really into the platform, which was kind of annoying. But the fact they were going so fast, I guess, kind of made up for it. So, there's that. So you pull down your lap bars, and these are the typical Morgan trains. So they're going to be really comfortable, and you're going to be able to get a lot of room. Because even on the lowest setting, you're still, like, for most people, these lap bars are, like, at least an inch away from their lap. So no matter what, you're not really going to get stapled, which is just fantastic. The trains are pretty boxy, but I feel like the minimalistic restraints make up for that, which is nice. So now you're in the station, you get your dispatch, and you slowly roll out of the station. And Superman starts things off a little differently. It has a really cool pre-lift section before you even hit the main lift hill. So this immediately starts with two dips as soon as you leave the station. The first one gives a nice pop of floater for riders in the back row. And then the next one, you get a nice bit of floater throughout the entire train. And you start to dip down to the left on this next one through like a swooping turn. So the airtime kind of is more sustained, and then it turns into a bit of floater or a bit of laterals as you twist downward. And then you get one more airtime pop. This one is almost ejector if you're in the front row. It's a little pop of airtime right into a set of brakes before you hit the main lift hill. And this element offers a nice pop of airtime, like I said. And then you come to a stop, you make a slow turn, and then you head up the main lift hill. So you get 3 airtime moments, plus some decent laterals before you even climb up the lift hill. Like, what other coasters do that? It's pretty awesome. So then, like I said, this lift hill has amazing views. It's a bit of a slower lift hill. I think it takes at least a minute to reach the top. This ride is a very long experience, by the way. So when you're going up the lift hill, definitely take some time to look around. You have amazing views of the buildings, amazing view of the park. It's awesome. And then you head over the first drop, which feels pretty similar to the other Morgan first drops. From what I remember, it did not feel like we slowed down much over it like it does on Steel Force or Wild Thing or Mamba or those type of rides. So you got a bit more airtime heading down the first drop, which was cool. And it curves towards the bottom too as you go into a tunnel, which is nice and adds some force to it. You fly up into the first airtime moment, and everyone will get a nice pop of Flowjector airtime as you come over this element. I feel like in the front it was a bit more sustained, and then this is a twisting drop right after, so it turns into laterals as you're getting airtime. And then you curve downward into the section which I'm going to call the Rose Bowl. And this section is basically a giant, like, elevated helix that goes high up in the air. And the entire time, you're going to get really, really nice laterals on this, especially at the top of the element. You really feel like you are absolutely pinned to the side of the train, which is phenomenal. And normally, steel coasters don't have lateral forces this strong, but Superman definitely puts up a fight and can compete with a lot of wooden coasters with the strength of laterals that it has. This whole section feels so intense, and you're just pinned to the side the whole time, which is awesome. And it's honestly probably one of my favorite parts of the whole ride. Next, you're going to fly up into another airtime hill. And this one is really similar to the first one it does, where it goes up and it turns, and then you swoop downward. Except this one, you get full-on ejector airtime at the crest, and it's sustained too. This hill feels a lot smaller than the first one, and in the front row, I really felt like I was going to fly out of the train on some of some of the rides I had on it. It was amazing. This is definitely the best airtime hill on the ride. Definitely the strongest airtime hill on the ride. And the fact you have sustained airtime that turns into laterals on this moment is amazing. It's so intense. Next, you head around a second helix. And this one, I think, is equally as intense as the first one. It doesn't go at an angle like the first one, like upward, but you're going to get laterals as you go around. And as you kind of head towards the mid-course, the helix kind of gets tighter towards the end. It almost felt like they like ran out of space for it. So it does this like kind of like jolt in the profiling, which makes the laterals spike even more, which is awesome. So that whole helix is really intense laterals. And then you pop up into the mid-course brake run, and you get ejector airtime entering this in the front row. And in the back row, you'll get ejector airtime exiting the mid-course. Unlike the other Morgan Hypers, Superman barely trims. I think we maybe had some rides where it lightly tapped the train, but most of the time you're not going to get anything. You're just going to fly right through the mid-course, and the next two hills after that are awesome sustained ejector airtime. You get really nice air over both of these hills, and it feels like the hills on Magnum, except just sustained, which is phenomenal. It's such a cool feeling having these hills sustained instead of these like abrupt pops, because to me sustained airtime is just so much better. So you fly over both of these hills, including the drop off the mid-course, so you get 3 sustained ejector moments in total in this section, which is great. At this point, you fly up one more banked hill, and you get some nice laterals at the top of this element. You make a turn that has some nice lateral forces as well, and you get a fantastic view of Mexico City at this point. You kind of start climbing up the terrain here because, remember, as I said in the beginning of the video, this is a train coaster, and the station starts at the top of the hill. So it has to climb its way back up. So it does this swooping turn, and then it levels out, and that's when you get that fantastic view of Mexico City as you turn around. And then before you hit the brakes, you have one more dip downwards, which feels pretty similar to the last thing that Goliath over Georgia does. You really get thrown forward on this moment, which is super cool. And then you slam into the brake run, and that ends your ride. So it's definitely a unique hypercoaster because you kind of have this first half where it drops you down, and you do the pre-lift section. And then the main first half is kind of like a twister section because you drop down, you're going through all these helixes, you're getting tons of laterals. It feels like a better version of the twister section on Superman at Six Flags New England to me. That whole section is phenomenal. And then once you pop up into the mid-course, then it kind of becomes like a traditional out and back on the return trip. So I would say, it may not have the longest layout for a hypercoaster once you drop off the lift, but the pre-lift section definitely adds to it. And the fact that you're getting strong laterals, you're getting strong airtime, I really think this is one of the best hypercoasters out there. It's not as good as some of the Intamin ones like Skyrush or Conda or Expedition G-Force, but I would take this over pretty much every B&M hyper. It's close with Goliath over Georgia. I would probably give this the slight edge because of the uniqueness of it, but it's an absolutely phenomenal coaster, and I would highly recommend it. So out of 10, I would give this ride a 9. I definitely don't think it's as good as some Intamin hypers, but it's fantastic and easily the best Morgan hyper. As for seating preference, I thought the back row was really good on this, but my favorite seat was definitely the front row. I also think row three is good on this. It's similar to Magnum in the sense that like when you're in the front, you're gonna get more powerful airtime over these hills because of the way they're shaped, and the crest of the hills, you're really gonna get thrown over it, so you kind of feel it a lot more in the front. I feel like for people who love Magnum, they're definitely going to be fans of this coaster as well. So if you like that coaster, I would highly recommend putting Six Flags Mexico on your bucket list to ride Superman at Ultimo Escape. Medusa Steel Coaster is also a phenomenal ride. Mexico City is just a great place to visit. I had an amazing trip there with my friend back in 2021, and I loved it so much, and I can't recommend visiting Mexico City enough to go see everything. See the pyramids, go see Xochimilco, take the boats around, then go to Six Flags Mexico, and you'll have a great trip. It's fantastic. Would highly recommend it, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for more coaster reviews soon, and thank you for watching, and please subscribe and share this video. Thank you. Goodbye.